another Math Dive in 5. My name is Rebecca Ore. I'm the Math DRT, and today we're going to be looking at first grade length. Before we dive in, I want you to go ahead and pause this video and complete the tasks below. You can do so with a team partner member or on your own. As you're completing these tasks, think about what skills do students need in order to be successful with these tasks. First, let's dive in with the progression of the best standards. In kindergarten, students expressed length with non-standard units and they compared two objects with a common attribute, such as length. In first grade, now students are going to estimate and measure length to the nearest inch or centimeter. They're also going to compare and order the length of up to 3 objects using direct and indirect comparisons, and we'll take a look at what the difference between those are. This is going to prepare them for second grade when they measure and estimate lengths to the nearest inch, foot, yard, centimeter, or meter, and they begin to solve measurement word problems. So now let's take a look at what that indirect comparison might look like. Last year in kindergarten, students were able to look at 2 pencils and say, the pencil on the bottom is shorter than the pencil on top. Now they'll use 3 objects to compare by saying, oh, well, the pencil in the middle is the shortest compared to the pencil on the top and the red pencil. They'll start to order and compare, but notice that it's indirect because I'm not measuring them with a ruler yet. I'm simply using vocabulary such as shorter, longer, taller, higher, tallest, shortest, and they can do that by measuring multiple objects all around the classroom like a notebook or a backpack or the table or your desk. Not only will students compare objects, but they also can begin to compare unit sizes. Take a look at this example. Students are asked to measure the length of the scissors. Students can measure with non-standard units such as snap cubes. Once they're measuring with snap cubes, they can also measure with centimeter or unit cubes. Then you can ask questions like, would it take more snap cubes or unit cubes to measure the scissors? Students can see that it takes more unit cubes because they are smaller. This is also going to compare to actual inches and centimeters when they start measuring. In first grade, students will begin measuring with standard units such as inches and centimeters. Take a look at this pencil. In kindergarten, they used non-standard units and were able to make sure that they were next to each other without gaps or overlaps. They could say, this pencil is 7 units long. They could also put another object and estimate, well, if this pencil's 7 units, how many units do you think that the crayon is? And they could say the crayon will be about 5 units long. Now we want to make connections to this non-standard unit to a standard unit as a ruler measuring inches and centimeters. We want them to understand that from 0 to 1 is 1 inch. They can now begin to measure the objects, saying that the pencil is 7 inches long, the crayon is 5 inches long. And we want to make sure that they line up their objects. This is a common misconception that they may not always start at 0. We want them to make sure they start at 0. And then we can relate our inches to another unit of measurement as centimeters. How many centimeters long is the crayon? They can measure from 0 at the beginning of the crayon all the way to the end of the crayon, which is 13 centimeters long. Now let's go back to compare and ordering lengths. Once students understand how to measure with a ruler, they can begin making direct comparisons of different objects. So take a look at these 2 pencils. Now I can say that one pencil is 9 inches long, another pencil is 6 inches long. If I know that 9 is more than 6, then the pencil that is 9 inches is going to be longer than the pencil that is 6 inches. Another way that we can make direct comparisons is by using one object to compare to the others. The green door is shorter than the building because I can see that the green door is shorter than the giraffe and the giraffe is shorter than the building. Also, because students can now measure, we want to relate that would it take more question to actual measurements. So they related snap cubes and crayons as indirect measurements and could tell that there are more snap cubes because they are smaller, or less crayons to measure the shoe because they are larger. Now we can put a ruler and we can ask a similar question. Does it take more centimeters or more inches? And it takes more centimeters because they are a smaller unit. This is something that you want to thread throughout your unit so that students can continue relating and understanding the size of inches versus the size of centimeters. Okay, so as you're teaching length, don't forget to make connections to those concrete non-standard units that students worked with in kindergarten and relate it to the standard units that you'll be working with now in first grade. We want students to practice making comparisons that are direct and indirect, and even comparing the size of the units, whether they're standard or non-standard. And that's all for this Dive in 5. We'll see you on the next one.